Deputy President, look, I speak in favour of this bill, but not in the hope that it sees people go to jail for 2 years, nor in the hope that they get fined $22,000 for their actions. Nor is my motivation to stop people from protesting at all. Rather, if people feel the need to protest, that they do it in a way that does not cause unnecessary and inaccessible risk and inconvenience to others. But unfortunately, the risk and consequences of some of these actions are real, and we're talking about legislation aimed at discouraging behaviour that causes damage or disruption to major roads or major public facilities. So behaviour that, regardless of its intent, will hurt people, that will seriously inconvenience people through financial loss, time loss and unacceptable risks. And the ramifications of this can be huge for individuals, our businesses and our economies. And this isn't a Sydney bill. This isn't just going to affect people that live in Sydney. People who live in the regions could be seriously affected by the actions that this legislation is trying to stop. So you take the example of a chilled container of lamb. If that container is blocked or delayed on its way to Sydney, first of all, I guess the product could spoil. But then you've got risks of missing its flight, missing its ship. That then has further impacts on broken agreements, relationships damaged and possibly markets lost. So many of our regional businesses rely on efficient transport in and out of Sydney, and that could be affected by the attacks this bill is trying to discourage. An orchardist trying to get their apples to the market, factories dependent on parts being delivered out of Sydney, or a specialist coming out to the regions to see regional clients. But of course there are many more personal direct risks at play here as well. I think of a father driving from Forbes to Sydney to take their child to a specialist appointment that they might have waited 6 months to get. So that 5 or 6 hours in the car could be for nothing if some of these actions we're trying to stop here meant they were late or delayed to that appointment. The time lost for this father and their child can never be replaced and would be unbearable for these people. I know personally we had a few issues in the birth of our child, and while they weren't major, I was very lucky. We were very lucky we got to hospital when we did. If we were delayed by half an hour because of some sort of protest action, we could have had a very different story. And I'm not sure whether the people, deliberately disrupting our roads are considering that, because that's a huge risk to take on and put on your conscience. There's a kid that travels to Sydney for a job interview. If they miss that, that's life-changing. Imagine being cut off from seeing a dying relative and getting there too late. The blockage of our emergency services. We've heard lots of people talk about the ability to get to work or school, even the right to miss your kids' assembly. These are all things that could occur because of these deliberate disruptions, and that's why I'm supporting this bill. To close, Deputy President, I reiterate, I don't support this bill because I want to see more people go to jail for protesting. I don't want them to stop protesting. The protests we've seen out here the last couple of days are part of the colour of Parliament. They're part of the colour of our democratic system. I don't want to see people go to jail for that. I just want them to come up with more inventive ways. They're clever people. They can come up with better ways than blocking our major arteries. What I want for this bill, Deputy President, is for people to discourage protesters, to encourage protesters to think of other ways to get their message across. Ways that don't place unnecessary and unacceptable risks or inconveniences on the good people of New South Wales. And finally, Deputy President, whatever the cause is, if someone tries to stop me getting home from my wife and kids tomorrow, I will be lost to that cause forever.